Thank you for joining us today. Matt Sikes, Systems Engineer here with Verify. And today, yes, we will be covering some Contact Center Express kind of agent failures. So I believe that is the topic of that we're driving for today. So what we're looking at right here is just a kind of a simple wall board that I build, within my lab environment. This is not field data here, but certainly gives kind of the look and feel for all the options, certainly that we can provide from a wallboarding perspective. Now, I just want to tailor today's session around kind of the agent as well as their kind of finesse states and reason codes. So within that data that we're reading out of the Informix or the Contact Center Express database, we're able to see what the agents are doing, certainly live as well as Q statistics. But again, going to be driving today focally on failures at the phone device level for these contact center agents. So the way we're going to go ahead and do that, and we'll come back to some of this dashboard stuff, the way we're going to do that is we're going to utilize module number 2 here. So call analytics and reporting, the reporting options that we have by default in here are split between agent and CSQ based reportings, but we're going to chase after the agents themselves today. So the agent style. So the way we're going to achieve this, now don't get me wrong, there's definitely all kinds of high level summary statistics that we can give you for the agents, data tables, time period charts, etc. But this session, we're going to focus on their state details. Now, some of the reports that we have can certainly already kind of key off of some of this stuff. So meaning if we're looking for kind of, we have some canned reports for, not ready, ready kind of analysis, as well as, logged in, logged out timers for the agents. Again, just to make sure that, they're doing their fair share and not coming in late and leaving early. So we can certainly track all these events from the data that we're reading from Contact Center on this stuff. But we're going to go one little deeper here. And there are reasons in here that are that follow through with the events in the contact center data that will let us know what the agents are kind of handling and their kind of their normal routines throughout the day, let's say. So, changing states, if you will. So, oops, of course I did that. So, and meaning by changing states, so even though in finesse, I mean, Verify does have no real-time real-time exposure for the widgets there, so we can easily replicate, that the agent states are taking place immediately updating in our widget. So did want to make mention of that. But there's going to be failures along the way of some of these not ready codes or some logged out codes, if you will. So just want to kind of state that that's kind of what we're kind of driving on here. Now, yes, there's plenty of ready, not ready stuff and all that is in there. But what we're going to do is we're going to run a report that has all the reason options turned on. Now, these reasons there's a small little decent list of them. So there's going to be, agent logons, cancellations. There's going to be some failures and stuff like that, as well as a lot of the regular reason codes that are, coming from Finesse. Now, again, we're going to run this report, or I already have. We have an example here of some output. So this is not a field system. This is a lab environment of mine. I'm kind of sharing out here. There's about 4 agents, myself and 3 of my peers that I have kind of baked in here. But what we're doing in this report is we have all the reasons turned on, going back year to date here, but able to showcase and see exactly all the states that the 4 of us have entertained on our agent extensions. While we're not true traditional contact center agents, but certainly this will certainly give the flow of kind of the material I'm trying to target here for us. So we can see Dan going all the way back to the beginning of the year. We can see all his logins, logouts, stuff like that. But also we're seeing phone failures. So we see a lot of phone failures on his record or on his agent, and workings failures, definitely a lot of them here for Dan. Okay, so we can kind of scroll through this. Now, don't get me wrong, we can certainly silo the time frame, but again, I just want to throw a very wide net. But now it looks like it goes into Laura here. Laura should have some regular stuff there as well, some defaults going on break, stuff like that, some kind of normal kind of finesse reason codes, if you will, administrative notes, stuff like that. I don't think she had that many failures. Let's see here. Oh, she has some connection failures here. So, but I suppose I should back up a second. Why we're driving at this? So the reason, not to sound redundant, but the reason we're looking at these reason codes is because we want to see if there's anything that we can identify that could be a potential reason for these agents not answering enough calls or not being able to, with the system, with Finesse or Contact Center, be able to handle those calls. If there's a device issue or some type of service issue that you're unaware of, but there may be complaints from the agents, that a couple of times throughout the day their phone goes down or they're mid call and the phone just disconnects or aborts and drops the caller or something like that. We're going to be able to kind of dig into these state details in these reason codes to see exactly what happened from the contact center perspective. Again, we're definitely going to phone failure is going to be a focal point for sure for the session for today. But again, there's going to be different things that we're going to read. Again, I threw the kind of kitchen sink, if you will, at this report for all the reasons for the four of us and myself included. I'm probably right after Laura before Victor. Let me slide past her. And here's myself. So I've got a lot of agent logons, non-ACD busies, because I'm also part of a hunt group, I do believe. I've got connection failures, email correspondence, see some failovers, phone failures. So certainly some odd reason codes, let's just say. And again, phone failure and anything saying failure is probably not a good one. So I also secondarily tailored a second report, kind of actually, just keying on the specific state details that I think that may be of consequence for us to look at. So while the previous report run, I had all reasons turned on just to see everything that Dan, Laura, Victor, and myself have entailed over the past couple of months. But in this one, I'm kind of being more tailored down to these specific reasons that we're reading from Finesse or from Contact Center, pardon me. So again, these phone failures are in here. There's even a CCM failure or off hook, but certainly we can add more if need be. But ran this rendition with these specifically turned on. So while much lighter, I think, than the first one, which was almost 1,000 different state details, which makes sense. There's normal progressions and kind of state manipulations. But now looking at some of the more kind of concerning reason codes, if you will. So phone failure certainly being one of them. And we definitely see my buddy Dan Schmidt here kind of running away with being at the top of the list, having so many phone failures. Now, there's definitely maybe cause for concern on some of maybe the event durations of this reason of this failure as well. But it seems to be pretty instantaneous and not a lot of talk time unless we flop over to Laura here. We see some connection failures or additional durations on these events. Now, Laura could have been talking on the phone at this time to somebody or to an external entity, if you will, and maybe her phone had an issue. There was a connection failure, or her internet went down, as an example. This is the duration. Actually, unfortunately, that she was in that status for that reason code. So now this certainly gives us exposure. Now, again, just tailoring off a few of these for a handful of us agents. Now we can certainly summarize this stuff as well. Now this is all good to look at very granular if we need to look at a certain point in time. What exactly were the failures for Victor or myself or any of the other agents that we need to kind of take a look at. So there's one more, pardon me, flavor. Where we can turn on summarization on this as well. So while I'm still keying off of these reason codes right here, we can also slide back to the previous wrench in this agent report to create an agent summary table. So in this table, there are going to be some statistical options. So of these options, there's going to be the custom not ready reason codes that we're reading from Finesse. So there's going to be some regular ones and some custom ones as well. We're reading all of them. But there's going to be counts, averages, pardon me, and percentages for all of them as well. So a little bit of a list. But certainly one could certainly curtail that list by just kind of typing in the keywords, not ready count. And certainly if we want to pick on those counts, these three I already did specify. So phone failures, CCM failovers, and agent logon. And I'll explain the reason for the agent logon in a moment. But again, shrinking the list if we want to add additional options into the summarization, if off hook was a problem, if any of the other um, logged in not ready codes could be of merit to kind of take a look at as an example. Maybe I'm not going to rerun this, never mind. But again, you can certainly throw those in here. And then what we'll do is it'll be the exact same report that we were just looking at a moment ago with those 171 state details, but now summarized on the four of us. For these these three not ready counts that I'm looking to identify. So there's a lot of phone failures. We definitely saw Dan with a ton of them. He had more than Victor. It would appear on these slides, pardon me. He had more than Victor here. Looks like I'm the only one that had a CCM failover. But certainly we also can take a look at and glean maybe are there a lot of agents kind of logging back on a lot of the times now? Again, this can certainly be a report that's automated. I'm running this very widely from year to date, if you will. But this could certainly be a report that runs weekly, monthly, etc. But again, within a daily time frame for an agent, honestly, how many times should they be logging into Finesse? Is it one time in the morning? Should they be logging off when they go on breaks or on lunches? So maybe 4 a day at best or something along those lines. But certainly if we're running this over a shorter time frame and we see maybe 50, 60, 70 times an agent has to log into Finesse throughout a week, maybe something is failing on their phone that you're unaware of, or maybe that they're unaware of, and there's no automatic relog on or reinitiation logins. So there's definitely kind of this cause for concern, potentially, if these numbers on the login seem to be high, because there could be something that's a little suspicious under the hood, if you will. Now, again, we definitely have the options to include the very granular state details, but if we didn't want to, we could certainly, as always, certainly suppress this content right here. So whether or not we just want the very high level one-page report for all the agents within contact center land, if you will, that have some type of issues with their phones or some failures that we need to identify and lock in. Surely this is a report template that can be shaped and molded. It's not one of our, I guess, standard out-of-the-box canned reports, but again, this is certainly something that can be, modified and delivered, within a couple of clicks. Now, most certainly from there, there's going to be the option to, yeah, to leave the report in here in the report section, run it ad hoc for whatever time frame the supervisor deems necessary. Or again, one can certainly slide right next door to the schedulers to, to build out an automated frequency scheduler for this report. So again, do these need to run daily or weekly, monthly? Certainly all those, deliverable options are on the table. Okay. Now, one other thing, because I'm definitely a dashboard guy myself, but if I hop back here, and if the dashboard's playing nice for me right now, which it is, okay, good. So just like how we were showcasing a second ago, kind of the high level summarization for the four of us, the four agents here on my team here, kind of with this table view, we can also even kind of take that and build it into a dashboard as well, or into a dashboard widget, which is essentially what I've done right here. So here is the four of us, once again, Laura, Victor, and myself are logged in. Dan must be a bum today. Just teasing. But what we can see here is exactly, again, how many times agents are logging in, are having to log in. Um, is that just a couple times throughout the day? Victor only logged in once this morning just for this this session because I gave him a nudge. But again, we're not normal field agents as well. But out in the field, once again, this widget will cover only a couple shorter abbreviated time frames. So that's why I would definitely advocate for the reports from the analytics section first, because the widgets are only going to have current hour, current day, or current week as our relative time frames on this historical style of widget. So again, ease of use to look at it for current week, Sunday through Saturday, but definitely it's not going to have the longevity that the report is certainly going to have. But it can certainly kind of give high level kind of just representation that okay, we do have some phone failures here on the team, and we can certainly again have a 20, 30, 50 row agent kind of listing in this widget as well, just to kind of keep high level tabs on kind of the potential for any of these phone failures that we're seeing within the environments. So there's definitely that complementary nature, but then there's also going to be kind of some other questions. So I'm going to bounce into a couple of different other modules within the application here real quickly. So one question may be, very high level. Okay, I see this Dan Schmidt guy, or any one of our agents. He's got a ton of these phone failures, and he's on extension or agent extension, this 1106. We may want to know exactly, okay, what style of device is that? Where does that device live? What firmware is on that device? Something along those lines. So we also could, then in that light, we can certainly advocate for the change management module. So what we can do here is, utilizing the as-built report functionality, tapping into Call Manager, we can run one or both of these style of kind of inventory kind of stock reports here that we have. So we can run an IP phone registration report or a IP phone serial number report that includes, firmware, and a whole boatload of other content for these devices. If we were looking at those in this light, let's see here. What do I have here first? I have this serial number. This is going to be the registration. So as an example, if I were to run those two, here's exactly what an IP phone registration report would look like. Now, I have filtered this down to only my agent group, so we can see all our 12511XXs here. Myself personally, I'm on the 1107. But Dan is actually, he's on 1106. I can see that he's on an IP communicator. This is the MAC address for his phone, but his registration status is unknown. Again, this is not field data here that we're looking at, or a field system, but certainly this would be the steps you'd probably want to utilize to kind of chase after something like this in a verified system. But also we have the IP phone serial report, which is going to give us a little much more information. I'm in here with the 1107. I'm registered, but I'm on an IP communicator myself. Mr. Schmidt, Dan Schmidt, on 1106, he's on one as well. But we can also even see, again, this is not field data. But if any of the devices or the SEP Max or the Jabber phones, if we also need to uncover, what are their firmware versions? Do they need a firmware update as an example? Is that is that causing some of the issues on the devices to to kind of have those failures or those dropped calls as a result of some of the device constructs, let's just say. So you can certainly easily use the as built for that. Not to say that you couldn't pop. Of course, do that to me. Of course, you can also hop into Call Manager. I have to spell here now. I have all this logged in. But of course, you can hop into Call Manager and you can certainly search for those devices if you want to look at them at the source level. But again, just kind of giving you a different look and feel to go and be able to find those devices pretty quickly within the Verify modules instead of hopping into Call Manager. But certainly, don't get me wrong, you can certainly come into Call Manager in the admin page, search on the devices, and for this example, I'll just show you my 1100 range here. But again, myself and my peers in this 1100 range. Again, Dan's on the 1106. Then I'm on the 1107. Take this. Well, let's take this one. Let's take this for a test ride. How about this 12? Now, this one actually is tied to actually a hard desk phone, and we can even uncover uncovered that as well in the other reports as well. So let's see. The 112 is tied to an 8941. So actually, have another module for that. So we can actually even lean into remote phone control, look for this device if we want to go ahead and remotely control it or kind of interface with it and kind of see what's going on with it. We can call upon this hard desk device. We can click on this. We'll even get a pop-out window to see the device's display. So if we needed to, we can certainly look at the call logs, or even maybe even look at the call stats for this phone while maybe the agent may be handling a call. Because if they're live handling a call, we can certainly step next door, look at what the live call quality and stats are for the device that we're reading from the phone system or from Call Manager as well. Come on, lab. So we can actually see, is there a lot of jitter? Is there a lot of increased MOS score? Is there a lot of concealment ratio stuff that we need to take a look at as well, or that maybe resulting in the device having poor performance as an example. Let's try this one more time. Maybe in a stale window. But then from there, obviously, we can report on at the contact center level. Okay, here we go. So again, if we needed to monitor that device through remote phone control, again, we certainly can. No one's on this phone at the moment. But again, if an agent were entertaining that, we can certainly see, are there a lot of packets being lost? Increase a lot of jitter. Are we seeing increases in the quality of MOS score or the concealment ratios? So again, certainly plenty of options to verify across multiple platforms. Pardon me, multiple modules can certainly kind of entertain some of this troubleshooting for you as well. So now there's definitely, Verify is going to be able to provide, that the exposures of the exposure of these conditions, of all these, these phone failures, what agents are having these or, are encountering these. Again, these are reports that can be, set it and forget it kind of, if you will, as far as that kind of management, but also be delivering, to you monthly to kind of give you a heads up of, which agents are, unfortunately encountering phone failures or some of these very abnormal looking kind of reason codes that we're reading from Finesse and from Contact Center. So it's definitely that ability to go ahead and kind of showcase it in that light, but again, also even to kind of mock it up and also have it into a kind of a wallboard widget as well.